Birmingham's winter was never friendly, but that year it felt hostile, cold enough to make the concrete sweat and the drains belch a sour stink into the night air. Fog hung thick over the canals, and even the most reckless stayed indoors by midnight. In these conditions, the city had become a hunting ground, and the prey were the forgotten. Detective Inspector Elaine Carter sat in her unmarked Vauxhall, parked on the edge of the Digbeth Industrial Estate, staring at the rows of derelict warehouses. She took a slow drag from her e-cigarette, watching its faint vapor dissolve into the real fog. A map of Birmingham was laid out on the passenger seat beside her, covered in red ink and photos of faces. Faces of people no one was looking for. 14 names. 14 ghosts. No official connection. No family demanding answers. Some were undocumented immigrants, others homeless. A few sex workers. 2 ex-convicts with drug problems. But they had one thing in common: they had all vanished within a 5-mile radius over the last 7 months. Carter had been on the force for 16 years, 9 of those in serious crimes. She had seen her share of horrors, from gangland executions to mothers drowning their babies. But this case made her stomach tighten in ways she couldn't explain. It wasn't just the missing. It was the silence. There were no bodies. No blood. No messages. Just the vanishings. Until the night Harun Malik walked into the station. Harun was shaking. Barefoot. His left eye was swollen shut. Blood soaked the side of his torn coat. He looked like he'd run through barbed wire. The constable on night duty was about to call for a paramedic when Harun clutched his arm with a strength that surprised them both. "He's killing people," Harun hissed. "Processing them. Like animals." Within the hour, Carter was in the interview room. "He took me in a van," Harun explained, voice barely above a whisper. "Said he had work. Cleaning job. Said I'd be paid. I followed him. He had meat. Said it was pig. But it wasn't." Harun broke down then, sobbing so hard he vomited on the table. Carter pressed for details. Harun described a large warehouse near Aston, one of the old meat distribution hubs. He said he'd escaped when the man turned away to answer a phone call. Ran barefoot through brambles, over wire fencing. There were bones. Real bones. People. He grinds them. Sells the meat. He told me, no one will know. No one knows these people. The officers were skeptical. Carter wasn't. She ordered surveillance immediately. For 3 nights, they watched the warehouse from a distance. A white van came at exactly 3:14 a.m. every time. Always the same man, bald, stocky, around 40. He moved with precision. Opened the side of the van, pulled out large, heavy sacks or rolled carpets. Went inside. The lights inside flickered briefly, then shut off again. On the 4th night, armed police moved in. The warehouse was colder than expected. Layers of blood and sawdust covered the concrete floor. Cleavers and bone saws hung neatly along a wall like surgical instruments. At the back of the building was a walk-in freezer. It required both cutters to enter. Inside, they found death. Human legs. Arms. Torsos. A woman's face, half frozen, lips pulled back in a scream. The body parts were labeled by date and gender. F. Mid-20s, December 12th. M. 40s, January 3rd. Like a butcher shop. Organized. Efficient. There were animal carcasses too, to disguise the contents. The freezer was a blend of species. Beside the freezer sat an industrial meat grinder. Its base was clogged with hair, blood, and what forensics would later confirm were human teeth. In the office at the back, they found the man seated calmly at a desk, reading a paperback copy of Brave New World and sipping a cup of Earl Grey. His name was Thomas Albridge. Albridge was 42. Former military, served in Iraq and Afghanistan as a combat butcher, part of logistics and mess hall supply chains. Honorable discharge after a psychiatric evaluation. Since then, he had worked sporadically at meat plants, mostly under aliases. No address. No car registered in his name. No tax filings in 6 years. Off the grid. But his freezer said otherwise. He confessed without much resistance, though not with shame. I only took the ones no one missed, he said during questioning. People who were already dead to society. I gave them utility. Fed them to the system. Literally. Further investigation revealed the true horror. Obridge had been packaging the ground meat and selling it as pork or beef to low-end vendors and Berkeley burger joints. Unlicensed food stalls across Birmingham, Coventry, and even parts of Manchester had unknowingly served meat laced with human flesh. This city is full of mouths, he said, smiling faintly during a taped interview. They never asked what it was, just how much it cost. The press caught wind quickly. The Butcher of Birmingham, read every tabloid. The Daily Mail screamed about cannibal burgers in schools. The Guardian ran op-eds about the systemic neglect of society's most vulnerable. The Prime Minister issued a statement. Food regulators scrambled to contain the fallout. It was a national scandal. And Carter found herself hailed as the hero who ended it. But she didn't feel victorious. Because something didn't sit right. There were 2 sets of footprints in the warehouse. One larger, presumably Obridge's. The other smaller, women's boots, based on the threads. Long red hairs were found in the sink trap. A lipstick-stained coffee mug was recovered in the staff room. And yet, in every interview, Obridge insisted he walked alone. No one helped you? Carter asked. He smiled. No one you'll find. Later, a man running a food stand in West Bromwich came forward. He'd received a visit 2 days before Obridge's arrest, a red-haired woman with a snake tattoo on her wrist, asking if he still had Tommy's meat. CCTV confirmed her identity, Margaret "Mags" Delaney. Former Army Logistics, same unit as Obridge. Discharged for psychological instability. She had vanished 3 years earlier. No known location. No digital footprint. The case wasn't over. Obridge was sentenced to life in prison without parole. But Carter knew he had never walked alone. Delaney was still out there, possibly preparing to start again. Or finish what they had started. To be continued.